Welcome back to Comeback. And as you saw from yesterday, Comeback the podcast is now officially on YouTube. A podcast based in Saigon with over 425 guests sharing triumph over adversity stories about expat life, entrepreneurship, creative projects, and more. And we are back now with another YouTube video entitled 5 Tips to Be and Have the most effective expat life journey possible. I can speak from my personal experience of now living in Vietnam for 3 years, how my first year, my second year, and my third year dramatically changed due to the differences and the small steps that I took in order to have a better experience. And I have distilled this down into a 5-step guide, which hopefully you will find some interest in. If you enjoy this video, please check out the links below where I will give you access to the Apple reviews and also the Spotify link. And please comment below your expat stories, so perhaps we can open some kind of dialogue. Thank you, and on with my points, starting with number 1. Point 1 is to embrace the change and novelty. Now, naturally, you will not be used to, I suppose, the different things that occur in Vietnam because you've probably never been to this side of the world before. And even if you have, there is a huge difference between coming on holiday, coming on a tourist trip, versus actually living here. And as a result of this, there will be a lot of changes and a lot of novelties that you will have to get used to. For example, during Tet holiday, if you walk down Boi Vien Street, you will see so many different Vietnamese families in Ao Dai exploring and embracing their culture, and that does not happen in the UK, US, or probably where you're from, but it's something that you have to get used to. Likewise with the traffic, where it's just absolute mania and somewhat organized chaos on the roads, and they are not trying to hit you, but it will feel like they are. So be very, very careful and cautious, but just try to, I suppose, get over that in the first few days. Be easy on yourself, because coming to a new country, you might have certain expectations of what it would be like, but it's much easier to move past it when you just embrace the change and novelty, do not have any expectations, and just literally go with the flow. It's also keen and actually important from an empathy point of view, where you have to be empathetic and understanding that different cultures are different to you. Sounds obvious, but really think about it. From their mindset to their beliefs, to their politics, to their social, religious, cultural issues, they will all be very, very different to you, especially in the East versus the West. I can't think of too many, I suppose, correlations between Vietnamese life and beliefs versus the English lives and beliefs. So as a result, you are in their country, you are there to adapt, and this is necessary if you want to have the best expat experience possible. Embrace the change and embrace the novelty. Now, point 2 is communicate, communicate, communicate. Let me emphasize exactly how important that is, to just have clear, concise, specific communication. It can save you so many issues and actually be the difference in making or breaking your Vietnamese experience. When speaking to somebody who does not have these beliefs, these metaphors, and these understandings of the world, you really do need to make your message very, very simple, as if you are talking to somebody who's 5 or 6 years old. And if you come here as a teacher, teaching gives you that practice to break things down and make them as simple as possible. Simplicity really is the key, and I think, not to digress, but generally in society, we try to overcomplicate matters by using technical jargon or by really going for messages that we think will make us look impressive, when in reality the best coaches, whether it be in business, in marketing, in sport, or education, keep the messages very, very simple and very basic to follow. And coming here in Vietnam, it's very important to be very, very clear about what you want. Even a trivial example, you go into a phone shop and you want data. You have to be very, very specific about exactly what you want, and you have to communicate it, because so many things are lost in translation. You can't just say, oh yeah, I want this, is that okay? Because is that okay doesn't even register to them sometimes. You have to say, this is what I want. Could I have this, please? Yes or no? And try not to get frustrated, going back to point one about the change and the novelty. Because they don't speak your language as effectively as you do have to be patient. You do need to have that, I suppose, empathy to embrace that novelty and also communicate effectively. I think, to be honest with you, if we took this communication aspect of being very, very specific into our daily lives, our relationships, our business meetings, and more, we would get a lot better results because being very, very specific leaves no room for ambiguity whatsoever and also allows both sides to get their share of the bargain. Otherwise, further down the line, there could be confusion. And I asked you for this. Oh, I thought you meant this. How many times has there been an issue in somebody's life about that? I think point three of Don Miguel Ruiz's famous book, The Four Agreements, goes into exactly this. Do not make assumptions. Be very, very clear. If you don't understand, or perhaps you think you understand, repeat back to the individual, okay, so just so I know, what you want me to do is this, for example. It will save you a lot of hassle in the long run. And as I mentioned towards the beginning, can be an underrated but enormous factor on whether you enjoy your Vietnamese experience or not. Communicate, communicate, communicate. Point three is to get a hobby and seek opportunity. If you have listened to the Comeback podcast, I'm sure you will have seen me say or heard me say many, many times that you can go for opportunity here in Saigon or escapism. Now, the opportunity goes to starting businesses, podcasts, networking, sport, and more. The escapism, you can also overindulge. The importance of not drifting and not getting into that dark path is absolutely key. And to do this, it's important that you really find a hobby and find a tribe. I've spoken to expats before who have told me all that there is to do for fun is go to bars, or there's nobody to meet, or I can't find something that suits me. Well, I don't think that washes because there are so many different things in Saigon to do, whether that be networking events or sports meetups, music clubs, art clubs. There are so many things if you go on social media or speak to your colleagues or see on, say, for example, posters. There are so many ways of just getting to events. And I feel like in this unique city with people from all over the world, all walks of life, with different tastes, cultures, attitudes, beliefs, it is very, very important to find a tribe and stop yourself drifting. Whereas we all left, so we all have that in common. Everybody here, well, within the expat community, of course, is an expat. However, you might think that is enough. If you still come, I suppose, from your hometown with that hometown mentality, you can come here and literally immerse yourself in the same group of 5 or 6 people and live as if you were in your hometown in high school. And that is a very dangerous and wasteful way to live, really, when you have so many opportunities available, despite your age or your background. Why not give yourself an opportunity and try to take some of it? Try to take whatever it is and just try and really grow subsequently. Otherwise, I feel like you can regret it and it saves you drifting, because if you drift, then things get messy and ultimately that's not a place where you want to be. So as a result of that, really look for a hobby and look for an opportunity. It's huge in helping find who you want to spend time with and who you don't. Initially, you will be perhaps inundated with people. You'll be overwhelmed with new friends and new people that you'll meet, and you'll wonder who's genuine, you'll wonder who's authentic or who suits you. And to find a hobby and find a collected interest in going together can be an essential way to do that. Where if you meet someone and your only connection really is, let's say, partying or gossip, it can be very tricky further down the line when you realize you don't actually have a connection whatsoever. Get a hobby and embrace opportunity. Number four, wrong hand there. Number four is to network far and wide. So it depends on what you're like as a person. I think a lot of people probably class themselves as somebody who likes a few people but keep a small circle. However, in Saigon, there are so many different circles from all around the world, so many different people. Why limit yourself to just 3 or 4 friends from your home country? I occasionally see cliques, and I think if you moved from, say, England and you only associate yourself with the English, you probably won't learn that much that's new. But if you immerse yourself with French, Spanish, Danish, South African, Australia, Canadian, Taiwanese, and more, then you can get so many different experiences that are very unique to your hometown. And it really does, I suppose, open your mind and broaden your horizons. I don't think you can come and live the expat experience properly if you don't develop your skill of empathy, which is stepping into somebody else's shoes and seeing it from their perspective. Where if you grew up in their environment, in their country, where their beliefs, their conditions, their cultures, and more, you would most likely be in a similar position. So therefore, having this kind of understanding and really going for it can be so crucial. And I think it would be boring as well. I mean, somebody who does value friendship and I value loyalty and longevity with that. But moving around and seeing new people is great for a change of scene. You might pick up new ideas. One of the things that really benefited me with my podcast, which now has over 425 episodes, is seeing things from a lot of different perspectives and interacting with people that ordinarily I probably would not have a connection with because perhaps we're different in personality or we're not in the same social circle. So it's great to kind of develop that friendship, make that rapport, and learn from somebody who thinks differently to me. Networking far and wide can be an absolutely crucial skill, not only in, I suppose, mixing things up and making the journey more enjoyable as it goes on, but also finding people that you might previously not be aware of, and context is very key. For example, you can meet potential business partners, potential relationships, potential jobs. You can get so many opportunities by networking far and wide. And in a city as vast and vibrant as Saigon, it is a shame not to do so. So number 4 is to network far and wide. Now, number 5 is to find an appropriate balance. Now, I think I've alluded to it in this conversation that you can go to bars and you can go and, I suppose, enjoy pleasurable pursuits. Let's just put that mildly. But you can also find all of these opportunities. And I think it really is a mixture between, I suppose, enjoying yourself and also building yourself on the side, where I think that you can, of course, meet people at bars and you can have a lot of fun with that. And I would never discourage anybody to do it. I mean, especially if you're in your early 20s, there are so many cool bars here. There are so many different deals and happy hours. I spoke to a guest recently who spoke that there's probably a free flow going on somewhere at any time of the day or some kind of happy hour. It's one of the cities that is, it's quite renowned for that. There are bars everywhere, and I suppose you should take advantage of the growing scene. But also make sure that's not all you're doing, and make sure the reason why you're doing it is literally to wind down occasionally or just to have fun. Because if you are doing this literally just to escape your reality or just because you're bored and there's nothing else to do, then that could be an issue further down the line. It could be really problematic. But if it's just, letting off some steam, absolutely go for it. But also make sure that you're working on your goals, working on your skills, developing as a person, doing more things that will benefit you and the community around you. Make sure that there is appropriate balance of work, life, hobbies, side interests, side hustles, and more. I suppose that's the key to getting the best out of your expat experience. I look back at my first year of Vietnam. Now I've been here 3 years. Let's break it down to first year, second, and third. The first one was full of a lot of partying and probably too much when I look back realistically, but I was 22, so I don't really have any regrets. I think if you're to make mistakes, doing it at 22 is the perfect age really, because no responsibilities and you have plenty of time to learn. Your 20s, as Bill Gates says, are your unfair advantage. So I think I used that quite heavily in my first year. My second year, I suppose I knuckled down really and thought that I did need more of this balance and I needed more platforms and avenues to show what I was really capable of. So I spent that building it up and making my own comeback. And my third year has been brilliant. I mean, except for the lockdown, which dominated the first part of it, it's been absolutely great. I've met so many interesting, wonderful, and inspiring individuals from all over the world and from so many different fields. And I've connected with them, I've done projects with them, they've come on the podcast, we've been friends, we've gone to birthday parties, etc. I've made all of these connections just because I decided to build myself and find this appropriate balance, which I think is crucial. I mean, there are so many things to do in terms of, I suppose, getting that balance where you can go hard in the city in terms of partying, you can go hard in terms of your side hustle or your networking, you can be a tourist in the city. There's always something to do or some kind of event. And you can also go out of the city if you need to. Vung Tau is on your doorstep. Mui Ne not too far away. Dalat, Nha Trang, Da Nang, Hoi An, only hour flights. You really can go and escape if you wish to. The Mekong Delta, not too far away. Finding that appropriate balance, I think, is a crucial way of enjoying your Vietnamese experience, not getting too stale, and I suppose staying focused. Every now and then it's always nice to switch off and do something different. Make sure, going back to point one, you have that novelty and that balance in tandem, and your Vietnamese experience will be better. That's all for me. Now, this was the first ever video, so any feedback would be appreciated. I'm sure there's a lot to work on for future videos, but if you never start, you never get to that point of, I suppose, mastery or completion. So I'm delighted to say that Comeback is now up on YouTube. There will be a lot of videos to come in the next few months or so, and it's an ongoing process that I will update you all with. Please make sure to like, subscribe, rate, review, leave your stories, especially if you are an expat and an expat in Saigon, Vietnam, and especially if you're interested in developing yourself. I'd love to hear from you, and hopefully we could perhaps both develop at the same time and see where this journey takes us. As I always say, the comeback beats the setback. Thank you very much for listening. I have been Connor. See you next time.